The sun was just setting as I finished my work for the day. As a lawyer for a big company, my schedule was packed, and I often found myself engrossed in my work until the late hours. I grabbed my coat, turned off my office light, and headed out. Outside the tall building where I worked, Alex waited. I first met Alex at a coffee shop. I had mistakenly picked up his coffee, and we laughed it off. I remember the first thing I noticed about him was his bright blue eyes. He looked at me as if he was genuinely interested in getting to know me, not just my job title or my status. Alex was different from other men I had met. "Hey, how was your day?" Alex greeted me with his warm smile. "Exhausting as usual," I replied, brushing my hair back. "You?" He chuckled. "Same. Work, work, work. But hey, dinner at that Italian place you mentioned last time? Sounds good to me." As we walked, he started telling me about his past. "You know, Em, my previous marriage was tough. Lucy cheated on me. It broke me," Alex said, looking distant for a moment. I felt for him. "I'm so sorry, Alex. That's tough." He sighed. "Yeah, but that's in the past. My parents took her side and stopped talking to me. The only person who stuck with me was my sister Lisa." "Oh, Lisa, I haven't met her yet, have I?" "No, but you'll like her. She's great, has the same humor as me," he said with a grin. As our relationship grew, we often met for dinners, walks in the park, and movie nights. He was sincere, kind, and considerate. His story of betrayal touched my heart, and I felt protective of him. I swore to myself I'd never hurt him. Months passed, and our bond grew stronger. We decided to take the plunge and get married. Planning a wedding was challenging with my work schedule, but Alex was there every step of the way. The day of our wedding, I remember feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Alex looked dashing in his suit, waiting for me at the altar. The ceremony was beautiful. However, I couldn't help but notice the absence of Alex's family, except for a young woman with a bright smile, who Alex introduced as his sister Lisa. "Emily, meet Lisa," he said as he introduced us. She extended her hand. "Nice to meet you, Emily. Alex has told me a lot about you." I smiled. "All good things, I hope." She laughed. "Of course! Congratulations!" Despite the joy, a part of me wondered about Alex's family. Why weren't they there? Why did he only have Lisa by his side? I pushed those thoughts away, telling myself that families can be complicated. The weeks after our wedding were pure bliss. Alex and I enjoyed breakfast on the patio, dinners by the fireplace, and late-night movie marathons. The comfort and ease between us grew stronger with each passing day. But things took a turn when Alex came home from work one evening, looking quite troubled. "Emily," he began hesitantly, "there's something I need to discuss." "What's wrong?" I asked, my heart rate increasing a bit. "It's Lisa," he replied. "She's going through a rough patch. Her boyfriend has been abusive, and she needs a place to stay." I was taken aback. "Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Of course she can stay with us." "Are you sure?" Alex asked, looking relieved. "Absolutely. She's family, and we should help her out." The next day, Lisa moved into our guest room. She looked different from when I had last seen her on our wedding day. There were visible bruises on her face and arms, and she looked utterly defeated. "Hey, Lisa," I said, trying to sound upbeat. "I'm so sorry to hear about what happened. Please know you're safe here." She smiled weakly. "Thanks, Emily. It means a lot to me." As the days went by, I noticed Lisa and Alex spending a lot of time together. They'd laugh, chat, and sometimes even cook together. It was nice seeing them bond, but sometimes it felt like I was the third wheel in my own home. One evening, after dinner, I decided to bring up my concerns with Alex. "Alex," I began cautiously, "I'm glad Lisa is here and we're able to help her out, but—" "But?" he prodded gently. "I sometimes feel a bit left out," I admitted. "You both seem so close, and I just wish I could be a part of that." Alex looked thoughtful for a moment. "I understand where you're coming from, Em, but Lisa and I have shared a lot over the years. I promise, though, I'll make an effort to ensure you don't feel this way." The next day, Alex planned a movie night for the three of us. It was fun, filled with laughter, popcorn fights, and reminiscing about old times. Lisa shared stories from their childhood, and I felt more included. Yet, a small seed of doubt had been planted in my mind. I noticed the whispered conversations they'd have when they thought I wasn't around, and the way they'd sometimes go silent when I entered a room. I tried to dismiss it as sibling closeness, but something didn't sit right. One evening, I decided to approach Lisa. "Lisa, can we talk?" I asked as I approached her in the garden. She looked up, slightly startled. Sure, what's up? I've noticed you and Alex have a very close bond, which is great. But sometimes it feels like you both share secrets I'm not a part of. It's probably just my imagination, but it makes me a bit uncomfortable. Lisa sighed. Emily, I understand. But you need to know that Alex and I have been through a lot together. It's not that we're keeping secrets from you. It's just some things from the past we occasionally discuss. I nodded, not entirely convinced, but appreciating her honesty. Thanks for understanding. I just wanted to clear the air. The following months were busy for me. My job demanded a lot, and often I would find myself buried in paperwork till the wee hours of the morning. This meant Alex and Lisa had a lot more time to spend together, which only fueled my rising unease. They seemed to share a bond I couldn't quite grasp, and the few moments I had at home were filled with hushed whispers and awkward silences. One day, during a short break at work, I confided in my colleague Sarah. I don't know, Sarah. I just can't shake off this feeling, I said, fiddling with my coffee cup. Sarah looked concerned. What do you mean? It's Lisa. She's been living with us for months now, and while I want to be supportive, something feels off. I can't explain it, I replied, taking a sip of my drink. Sarah pondered for a moment. Have you talked to Alex about it? I nodded. Yes, but he dismisses it. He says I'm reading too much into things. Maybe I am. Sarah leaned in, lowering her voice. You know, if you really want to ease your mind, I have a friend in the police department. Maybe he could look into whether Lisa really reported any abuse. The idea was tempting. Do you think it's a good idea? I don't want to breach her trust. Sarah shrugged. It's just to give you peace of mind. If there's a report, then you know she's being truthful. If not, then you have every right to be concerned. I hesitated for a moment before finally nodding. Okay, let's do it. A few days later, Sarah approached me with the information. Emily, there's no record of Lisa reporting any abuse. My heart sank. What? Are you sure? Sarah nodded, looking grim. My friend double-checked. There's nothing. Feeling like I was in some sort of bad dream, I headed home, my mind racing. I wanted to confront Lisa, but I decided to approach the situation carefully. That evening, during dinner, I casually broached the subject. Lisa, I began cautiously, I have a friend who works with domestic abuse victims. She said she could help if you wanted to move forward with a case, or even just counseling. Lisa looked taken aback. Oh, that's thoughtful of you, Emily, but I'd rather not. It's a painful chapter, and I just want to move on. But it's important to report these things, I pressed on, watching her closely, for your safety and others. She looked flustered. I know, but it's my choice. I don't want to drag everything back up. The conversation ended there, but my suspicions only grew stronger. Over the next few weeks, I became more observant. I noticed things, the glances they shared, the way they seemed to communicate without words, and the secretive phone calls Lisa would often take outside. One day, as I was searching for a file in our home office, I stumbled upon a photo. It was an old picture of Lisa and Alex, but they were not posed like siblings. Their closeness in the image was intimate, and the backdrop was a university banner. Confused and hurt, I decided to take a drastic step. I would pretend to go on a business trip and then observe them from a distance. I needed to know what was going on in my own home. With my plan in place, I informed Alex and Lisa about an upcoming business trip to Chicago. I could see genuine surprise in their eyes. Another one? Alex asked, sounding slightly joyful. How long will you be gone? Just a couple of days, I replied, trying to sound casual. It's a crucial meeting, and they need me there. Lisa chimed in. Well, we'll miss you, but work is work. Take care, okay? Thanks, Lisa, I replied, hiding the storm of emotions inside me. The following day, I packed a small suitcase and drove to the airport, but instead of boarding a plane, I rented a car and checked into a nearby motel. I then spent the day shopping and planning my surprise return to the house. By nightfall, I parked the rental a block away from our home and approached on foot. The windows were illuminated, suggesting they were in the living room. Silently, I used my key and entered through the back door. I tiptoed towards the bedroom, and what I saw next left me reeling. There, in our bed, lay Alex and Lisa, wrapped in each other's arms. The betrayal stung deeply. "It's your own sister!" I screamed, unable to contain my shock and anger. Both of them jolted upright, panic evident on their faces. "Emily!" Alex exclaimed, jumping out of the bed. "This isn't what it looks like." I scoffed, tears filling my eyes. "Really? Because it looks like you're in bed with your sister." Lisa, clutching the sheets around her, tried to find her voice. "Emily, let us explain." "Explain?" I shouted. "How can you possibly explain this?" Alex took a deep breath. "Lisa is not my sister. She's someone I've known since university." My mind raced. The photo, their closeness, the secrets. It all made sense now. "So, all this time you lied to me? About everything?" I questioned, trying to grasp the magnitude of the deception. Lisa finally spoke. "We didn't plan for it to go this far, but when we met you, and you were so kind and generous, we just went along with it." I looked at Alex, searching for some sign of remorse. "Why, Alex? Why did you marry me if you loved her?" He looked down, guilt evident in his eyes. "I thought I could move on from her. You were everything I ever wanted, but old feelings, they resurfaced." Fighting back tears, I said, "You both betrayed me. In my own home. I can't even look at either of you." I turned and left the room. The next morning, I sat in the office of my good friend and fellow lawyer, Jenna. She had always been a pillar of support, and I knew I could trust her with my situation. Jenna looked at me, her face a mixture of concern and anger. "Emily, this is just unbelievable. How could they do this to you?" "I was a fool," I muttered, my gaze fixed on the floor. "I believed him, trusted him." She leaned forward, taking my hands in hers. "It's not your fault. He's the one who lied." I took a deep breath. "I want to take this to court, Jenna. I need to make sure they pay for what they've done." Jenna's eyes narrowed with determination. "You have every right to. Let's go over the details, and we'll build the strongest case possible." Over the next few weeks, Jenna and I delved deep into the laws concerning fraud and deception in marriages. I was determined to ensure Alex faced the consequences of his actions. One evening, Jenna called me with some news. "Emily, I've managed to get in touch with Alex's ex-wife. She's willing to help us." A rush of relief and gratitude filled me. "Thank you, Jenna. This could be the key we need." A few days later, Alex's ex-wife, Marianne, came to meet me. She was a petite woman with a steely determination in her eyes. "Emily," she began, extending her hand, "I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Alex has a history of deceit, and I experienced it firsthand." I nodded, taking a seat across from her. "Tell me everything." She sighed. "We were in love, or so I thought. But then I found out about his affair with Lisa. When I confronted him, he painted me as the villain, told everyone I was the one cheating." Tears glistened in Marianne's eyes. I was left with nothing. I squeezed her hand gently. "Together, we can ensure he doesn't hurt anyone else." A determined look crossed Marianne's face. "I still have all the evidence, text messages, photos, everything. We can use it in court." Our strategy was becoming clearer. With Marianne's evidence and my testimony, we had a robust case against Alex. In the midst of our planning, Jenna received a surprising call. "Emily," Jenna said, her face pale, "it's Alex's parents. They want to meet you." The next day, I found myself face to face with two elderly individuals, their faces lined with age and sorrow. "Mrs. Clark," began the father, his voice quivering, "we're so sorry. We tried to warn you, but we didn't know how." The mother, tears streaming down her face, added, "We disowned Alex after what he did to Marianne, but we never imagined he'd do something like this again." Their words only fueled my determination. "We're taking this to court. He won't be able to hurt anyone else." The day of the trial had arrived. My heart raced as I entered the courthouse, Jenna by my side. The courtroom was filled to capacity, a testament to the gravity of the case and the scandal surrounding it. As I took my seat, I saw Alex and Lisa across the room. They were huddled together, whispering amongst themselves. Alex glanced in my direction, a flash of guilt crossing his eyes. Jenna leaned over and whispered, "Stay strong, Emily. We've got this." Before I could reply, the judge entered the room and everyone fell silent. The trial began with opening statements. Jenna presented our case powerfully, laying out the web of deceit spun by Alex and Lisa. Their lawyer tried to paint a picture of a simple misunderstanding, but the skepticism in the room was palpable. The real turning point came when Marianne took the stand. She spoke calmly and clearly, recounting the betrayal she'd faced at Alex's hands. "I loved him," she said, her voice breaking slightly, "but he took everything from me, my reputation, my self-worth." She then shared the evidence she had kept, text messages, photos, and even a letter from Alex confessing to his lies. Alex's lawyer attempted to discredit Marianne, implying that she was bitter and out for revenge. But her dignity and the evidence spoke for themselves. After Marianne, it was my turn. I told the court about my relationship with Alex, our whirlwind romance, and the gut-wrenching betrayal I had felt when I discovered the truth. I spoke about how I had opened up my home and my heart, only to be repaid with deceit. Lisa was called to the stand next. She seemed nervous, often stumbling over her words. When Jenna questioned her about their relationship, she admitted, "Yes, Alex and I have been in a relationship for years, but we never meant to hurt anyone." Jenna pressed on, "So why lie about being siblings? Why weave such a complicated web of deceit?" Lisa looked down, tears in her eyes. "I love him. I'd do anything for him. But I know now that what we did was wrong." Finally, it was Alex's turn to testify. He looked defeated, a stark contrast to the confident man I had once known. "Why did you do it, Alex?" Jenna asked pointedly. He sighed. "I thought I could have it all. Emily's love and support, and Lisa's companionship. I never thought it would all unravel like this." The cross-examination was intense, but Alex's admissions left little room for his defense to maneuver. The closing arguments were passionate. Jenna made a compelling case for the pain and suffering caused by Alex and Lisa's actions. Alex's lawyer tried to argue that no real harm had been done, but it was clear the jury wasn't buying it. As the trial concluded and the jury went to deliberate, I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. I had done all I could. Now it was in the hands of the jury. Hours seemed like days, but finally the jury returned with their verdict. The tension in the room was palpable. The forepersons stood up. "We find the defendants, Alex and Lisa, guilty of fraud and intentional infliction of emotional distress." After the trial, there was a whirlwind of media attention. Reporters wanted interviews, and people I barely knew reached out with messages of support. But I was done with the spotlight. I wanted to move on. I wanted a fresh start. One evening, Jenna and I sat on my porch, sipping tea and discussing the past events. Jenna looked at me with a concerned expression. I know you want to move on, but you can't just suppress all that happened. You've got to process it." I looked out into the distance. "I know, Jenna, but every time I think of Alex and Lisa, I feel this burning rage. I want to forget them and everything associated with them." She sighed. "It's natural to feel that way, but running away from it won't help. Maybe you should consider therapy? It could help you work through those emotions." I nodded. "I've thought about it. I'll give it a try." A few days later, I met Dr. Carter, a renowned therapist. During our first session, I recounted my story, and she listened patiently. When I finished, she said, "Emily, you've been through a traumatic experience. It's okay to feel angry, sad, or any other emotion. But remember, healing takes time." In the weeks that followed, I immersed myself in therapy. Slowly, I began to understand and accept my feelings. I learned that healing wasn't about forgetting, but about finding a way to live with the memories without letting them control me. One day, after a particularly intense session, Dr. Carter said, "Emily, you've made significant progress, but have you thought about what's next for you?" I paused. "I want to rebuild my life, maybe even find love again, but the thought of trusting someone scares me." She smiled gently. "It's natural to feel that way. But remember, not everyone is like Alex. When you're ready, you'll find someone who values and respects you for who you are." Months passed, and I threw myself into work, taking on challenging cases and fighting for justice. My reputation as a tenacious lawyer grew, and so did my confidence. One evening, while working late at the office, I heard a knock on my door. I looked up to find Mark, a fellow lawyer whom I'd worked with on a few cases. "Hey, Emily, working late again?" he asked with a warm smile. I smiled back. "You know me, always chasing deadlines." Mark chuckled. "Want to grab a coffee? Take a break?" I hesitated for a moment, then thought, why not? Sure, let's do it. Over coffee, Mark and I chatted about everything, work, life, and even my ordeal with Alex. Mark was understanding and supportive. You're incredibly strong, Emily. Not many could come out of such a situation with so much resilience. We started spending more time together, grabbing lunches, attending events, and even going on hikes during weekends. It was refreshing to be with someone who understood me and didn't judge my past. One evening, as we sat by the beach watching the sunset, Mark turned to me. Emily, I really like spending time with you. I know you've been through a lot, and I won't rush you, but I want you to know that I care about you. I looked into his eyes, seeing sincerity and warmth. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I'm still healing, but it feels good to have someone like you by my side. Mark smiled and took my hand. We'll take it one day at a time. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Mark and I grew closer. I realized that life had given me another chance at love, and I wasn't going to let my past hold me back.